I'm going to call this meeting to order. Planning and Zoning Commission, regular meeting Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. First, I would ask everybody join me in prayer. Dear God, we pray that you will bless and guide us through this meeting. Help us to have productive discussions that will broaden our perspectives. Help us to resolve any disputes gracefully and to find principles that we can agree upon. Help us to generate good plans that are practical, sustainable, and easily implemented. Guide us towards the best way to take action to accomplish our goals. In your name we pray. Amen. Now join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. God bless Texas. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. A couple days before Thanksgiving, I want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to everybody in attendance and to their families, and to across all the citizens of McLendon-Chisholm, and certainly extend that to city staff that I know works very hard to help us govern this city. Happy Thanksgiving. All right, and with that, I'm going to move on to agenda item number 3, citizen comments. I have 2 forms that have been turned in. Start with Cranberry. Sir, could I get you to remove your cover, please? Thank you.
I don't need any help being heard, that's for sure. Thank you again for having us here. I don't believe that the next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and certainly don't expect the ability of back and forth here tonight, but was unaware that the item on the agenda was that's for a final plat was calling for that already had, or at least stated, a that site plan approval was already complete as well as preliminary plat. And I'm the developer and owner of the property just south of it, 3.85 Holdings LLC, and represent the same. And just want to express concern of what is going to be contemplated with the proposed site plan, which sounds like has already been looked at. My understanding from the minutes, I was not able to attend the previous meeting, was that that they had to start from scratch. And seeing in the packet this evening, it appears that it had already been accepted. And so I'm not sure where that disconnect came from. I'll chalk it as me because of my inability to be in attendance at the previous meeting. But all that to be said is, I think we all have a joint effort and desire to tie together with Brookshire's when they come forward. And I'm expressing a concern of the proposed fire lane that's going through, that's serving as a connector for what's going to be representing 30 to 40% of their parking on the back side of their building, which is on my property. I have a 30-foot access easement agreement for Brookshire's, and I have zero intent of building that fire lane if that's what it's going to be used for. And I just want to express my concern of that in advance. Would also like to express my concern about TxDOT's. They've been wonderful to work with. Mr. Selman out of Kaufman has been very accessible, and I don't have any concerns of our inability of accessing the site, either from the east side or the west. But given the distance from 205, it's pretty clear that we're not going to have a right in, right out, left in, left out ability for same, which is why what we are going to bring to you guys is going to drop the entrance into the site just westward. So if there is a public hearing forthcoming on that, great. If not, and I missed that, so much as so, I just wanted to express my concern for the same as y'all take that under advisement on that item this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And next, Mr. Anthony Crawford. And just before you start, Tony, Mr. Burry, we normally ask for statement of address as well, but since we have this, we'll use this to Essex Court, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I said that on the record.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm sorry, I missed that part. Thank you.
Anthony Crawford, 104 Lavender Place, here in Chisholm Crossing, across the street from where the site's going to be. The concerns I had a concern about the drive-up window, which, according to what I saw in the announcement from the meeting today, was still there. But my understanding it's been taken out. So as long as there's not a drive-up window, that was one of the concerns. The other concern is that I don't see where in the plan, by looking at it, especially if it's a restaurant, where they're going to have the ability for the trucks to come in to provide them their goods. Where they're going to drop off, how they're going to do that in the parking lot at the present time. The other concern I have is that I want it to, whatever is the other parts of the, because I've seen some of the other, within other locations that this owner has, that it's a lot of stores that are not consistent with what we've done in the past, where we've denied Dollar General just right across the street simply because there was not going to be a place. We didn't see anybody in the city that would be shopping there. So anything like discount insurance or burner phones or anything like that that would be in there. I would hope that and I guess we can look at the contract. You can tell me for sure, but that Brookshire's would have a part of their contract, something that would dictate what the other stores in the parking lot can have and can't have. So it would be consistent with what Brookshire's is trying to bring to us in a top quality store. So that's the only concern I have. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. At this time, if anybody else has anything that hasn't filled out a form, I just want to let anybody who's in attendance have the opportunity to speak who wants to speak. And going once, going twice, I'll close public citizens' comments. And at this time, move on to item 4.1, consideration and approval of the request of MFS Group Limited LLC for the approval of a final plat for 1 1/2 acres tract of land located at the southeast corner of intersection FM 550 and State Highway 205, identified as Lot 1, Block 1 of SH 205-550, and the Rockwell CAD number is 101321. And I'll ask, I'm going to ask, is the applicant in attendance? Yes, so, okay. What I'll do first then, Mr. Coker, is ask you for your staff report, and then I'll allow the applicant to also make a statement.
Yes, sir. The final plat in front of you is consistent with the approved site plan, and I just looked up the City Council approved the site plan February 22nd of this year, 2023, subject to allowing the drive-through lane, but not allowing any pickup window, anything to pass through a window. They can park out front if they want to as part of that site plan approval. I think that it's important. I should have put it in the staff report, but I didn't realize that it was going to be important to some of y'all. This is a final plat. The commission has 3 options. It's a ministerial function, and this plat complies with our regulations. So you can approve it, So my recommendation is for approval. You can approve it with conditions. If you have conditions, you need to specify what the condition is and what part of the subdivision regulations they need to comply with. Or you can disapprove it, and if you disapprove it, you have the same obligation, that is to say why it fails to comply with the regulations and be specific about the provisions that it fails to comply with. If you do either one of the two that are conditional, approval with conditions or approval or disapproval, and you specify what those are, the applicant has unlimited time to fix it and bring it back to you. So there's, with that in mind, staff is recommending.
Can you just reiterate that last point? And so we all understand what you just said.
Yes, sir. Two legislative sessions ago, the state legislature amended the regulations to say that you only had 3 choices when it came to a ministerial function that's a plat. And the 3 choices are approval. And when I recommend approval, it usually means that I have reviewed everything in the context of our subdivision regulations and that the application is consistent with our requirements. Sometimes I'll make a recommendation for approval with conditions. For instance, sometimes there'll be a language down in the surveyor's certificate, not for recording. And I'll do a condition. You have to remove that not for recording, because ultimately when this gets through the commission and on the way to council, if the council approves it, then it is the document that gets recorded. So that's a condition sometimes that where I'll recommend approval subject to a condition. The third thing is disapproval, and I'm not calling it denial because it's not denial, it's disapproval. Used to be denial, but now it's disapproval, and when you disapprove, you can disapprove it, but you have to be specific about why you're disapproving it and what section out of the subdivision regulations it fails to comply with. And if you do that, then the applicant has an unlimited amount of time to fix it and to bring it back to you. So historically, prior to 4 years ago, if you denied it and the council agreed with you, they got to start over. But that's not what it is today. They changed the law, Texas state law, 4 years ago, and now they can take as long as they want. And of course, the reason that they're here is because they want to develop, so they're not going to take an unlimited amount of time, but they can take it. We can't tell them how long they have to get it back to us. And once they fix it, it comes back on your agenda. Did I get there?
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, applicant, please approach.
Good evening. My name is Cameron Sloan with Tignall & Perkins, 825 Waters Creek Boulevard, Allen, Texas. And we've worked directly with city staff and engineering and planning, and just based on the approvals that we received as far as the preliminary plat and the site plan that's been approved, we believe that we meet all the requirements from an engineering standpoint, and we appreciate your time and would request approval tonight.
All right, is that all, sir? All right, thank you. All right, so what I'll do is, do we want to entertain a motion and then have discussion, or do you want to have discussion and allow for questioning with either the applicant or staff? Well, I'm offering it to the commission here. Let's start.
Mr. Chair, if you look at Robert's rules, generally speaking, that you have to have a motion first and then you have your discussion. Okay. But it's up to the commission to make the decision.
Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid having to do a modified motion later. But I'll leave it up to you. Well, okay, I'll ask for a motion then. Okay. Can you use your mic, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the plat, final plat.
Seconded.
We have a motion for approval and a second. So now I'll ask for any questions, any discussion. Let's start down there.
The only thing that I would add, and I don't know if I need to make an addendum motion or not, but I would like it stated in the record that based on the February 22nd, 2023 council approval of the site plan, that this is approved with no drive-up window or no pass-through window, as per direction and statement of the council.
Mr. Chairman, that's a motion that you can't do because this is not the site plan. The site plan's been approved, and it was approved with what you just said as it relates to the site plan. This is a plat, and this plat's consistent with the requirements of the law. An amendment like that is not consistent with the rules that we have for subdivision regulations.
Anything else? All right, sir. No discussion.
No discussion.
Tom? Anything? Okay. Mr. Freeze? Okay, so I just have two questions. In the application, and I'm a stickler about this stuff, so I apologize. The application, which was filed on the 31st of October of 23, so 21 days ago, the proposed use of the property was retail building and drive-through restaurant building. Do you want to explain why that would be on the application, given council's prior direction? You don't have to. I mean, it's only by choice. I just want to understand why that would be on the application.
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, it's just a commercial site at this point, since the SUP was denied for a restaurant building. So.
Oh, was the SUP denied?
We had a preliminary plat.
Okay.
Then we had a site plan, but they needed to get an SUP because any restaurant requires an SUP.
Right, I understand that, yeah.
And so there was a site plan that showed the restaurant, the one that I put in your packet. That was what was approved. And the drive-through, the lane where the cars go, was approved as part of the site plan. Having the window, in fact, I've got a memo here, if you've got the time. And this was also on the 22nd. Council asked me a question: why is a drive-through restaurant being requested on the site plan when the City Council was against the drive-through restaurant in 2020 due to its site constraints and potential traffic congestion? The drive-through part of the restaurant is for pickup only based on phone-in and internet orders. There will be no order board, speaker, menu options in or near the drive-through lane. So that's how I was describing it. And then when the council had considered the site plan itself, not the SUP, but the site plan, they denied the drive-through portion, not the aisle, not where the road is. And I think they've amended it to be more consistent with reality now, but back on February 22nd, council approved the site plan, but not the drive-up window.
Okay. I guess I just would have preferred I believe in transparency with government, and I also believe in those applying to government should be transparent as well. So in this case, when I saw that, I had concerns, raised concerns that there's a future desire to try to get around prior council direction. And a prior council certainly can change their mind, or I mean, a future council can change their mind. But it's very clear that this council made their clear statement about that. So it's just a comment not related to the plat.
Mr. Chair, one more thing, if
Yes,
it's
sir.
okay. In my staff report to the council,
Mhm.
we recommended the site plan, landscape plan elevations, and you all recommended that they apply for a specific use permit. And that ran after the site plan approval process. So the site plan was approved, the SUP came after that, and it was denied. The SUP that allowed the drive-through restaurant. The SUP for the restaurant was approved, but not the drive-through portion. Does that make any sense? Let me say this. A restaurant in the general business zoning district requires an SUP, whether it's a drive-through, a drive-up, alcohol-based. And they asked for a drive-through with the ability to, I think, to sell beer and wine. And the council said no to the drive-through part of the element and the SUP for the liquor, or the sale of alcoholic beverages, but approval of the restaurant. Okay, and that site plan has been approved as of February 22nd by the city council.
With the drive-through?
With the drive-through aisle, but not a window or a component where you can pass stuff back and forth. It was real clear that the council did not, in fact, there was quite a bit of discussion when it came to council about how they could fix it, and 2 or 3 of the council members were really specific. You know, there are a lot of places, Chili's, Cane's, other places that don't have drive-up, not Cane's, but Chili's and other sit-down restaurants that you can pull up in front, order to go, and they've got a couple of designated parking spaces where you can park, and you can either go in or they can bring it out to you, but there's no drive-through window. You can't pull up and pay money through the window and get your stuff out like they have at Jack in the Box. That has not been approved. The actual aisle itself, where the cars could go, was not removed. Now you've got a site plan that shows it not there anymore, and I like that, but that's not what the council approved.
You mean when you say site plan? So I'm reacting only to the plat.
Yes, today it's a plat.
And I've noticed on the plat that obviously the street, or the paved, I guess they call that paved for vehicle utilization, is located on there, right? I mean, that's on this plat. I'm staring at it, making sure I'm reading it properly.
Yes, so what's on the plat is going to be, drainage, utility,
Right.
and access easements. And fire lane easements. So that'll connect 205 and wrap through the site, and then connect to the drive to the south.
So but the paved area for utilization for the future buildings that are not on here will be in this circular area in the front of the,
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be, yes,
and that's,
within the,
and the access to 550 is off the area that's marked L12. Do I have that right? Is that an access in the future access to 550?
currently there's an access easement that connects the Brookshire site to 550, and that's just to the south of our property limits.
Okay.
If you look at the graphic that you've got in front of you, which is the final plat, and look where it says FM number 550, called 80-foot right-of-way,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a 40-foot distance there, and then just to the right of that, you'll see a 5/8 CRFN,
Right.
TNP,
Right.
and then you head down, and you'll see to Brookshire Grocery Company, access easement. That's a 30-foot wide easement from the south side of their property that provides access to this property off of 550, as well as to Brookshire's and anything that's to the south of this as well.
And that easement has already been established.
Yes, sir.
It has been established.
Yes, sir.
And how is that easement then documented?
It's in volume 5270, page 63 of the county clerk and the recorder's office.
Okay.
So one question. So the commission has jurisdiction over the final plat itself. Does it also extend to the application for that final plat?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So we definitely have jurisdiction over the approval of the final plat, but does it also include the application related to for that final plat?
That's a good question. I think that your obligation is to consider the application and the supporting documentation. If any part of that is incorrect, I think you're at a position to say, we can approve it with a condition that you strike the words drive-through from the application. They can do that, because this is going to go on to council. If you approve it with conditions, or disapprove it, it still gets to council with your recommendation, whatever that happens to be. So I think that you have the authority to take a look at the application. If it's incorrect, make them fix it.
Thank you. Okay. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to alter the prior vote, or amended, rather. Amended.
Before we get there, can I
Sure.
finish? I just want to finish, because I think this is critically important. We're talking about a fire lane, the fire lane, it extends south, so it extends onto this Berkshire easement, which presumably is an easement for fire lane. Am I reading that? I mean, is that it? Because it doesn't specify that in the plat, what this easement's for. It's just an easement, access easement. But yeah, here's the fact of the easement doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be developed. This plat is contingent on having some sort of access, a big vehicular access along an easement. An easement doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be developed. It just means it's an easement, can be developed if so desired. But there's no obligation, as I understand it, for Berkshires or anyone else. I mean, for Berkshires can exercise the right for that easement if it's established, but doesn't necessarily have to.
That's true.
So how can I approve then a plat that has a fire lane, which would be of key importance to us for public safety, if we can't guarantee that fire lane will actually go on to some access that's going to allow for the purpose of for what it does, right? Which is gain or for fire, for emergency vehicles or for egress. That's the concern I have. If we approve the plat as is, it's contingent on that easement, as I understand it, the way this plat is laid out. And if that is the case, then how do I make the recommendation to council that says approve the plat if I don't know what that future use is going to be?
Well, if we're talking about the Brookshire's Grocery Company access easement, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You could approve it subject to a condition that says you have to improve the access easement to provide fire apparatus access to the facility prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. It's not changing the plat, but it is answering the question about access for emergency services. My recollection was that Polani MFS Group was committed to improve that 30-foot right-of-way from 550 all the way over to the end of the southern end of their property to provide the access that we needed for emergency services. Let me ask the engineer if that's the case. Is that the case? And Mr. Polani's here, so.
Good evening, Mohammed Polani, 3645 Capstone Lane, Plano, 75074. Can I talk to Cameron for a second and then I can answer it? I'll try to answer your questions. You try to ask, do we have a mutual agreement between the 30-feet easements? That's what you're trying to do?
I'm trying to determine whether or not, if the commission recommends approval and you end up building this, doing the construction, are you going to have fire apparatus access, a fire lane that is in existence prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for your buildings?
Yes, we do, yes.
And how do you do that?
This is an engineer question, so you can answer it.
Are you going to build, the question is, are you going to pave and make the 30-foot in Berkshire's easement basically access to your facility and comply with the requirements of the fire code?
That's true. In a meeting, we were there, the Brookshire, Rob Roll, Rob Wheeler, and the other landowners, they were there, and they gave us a paving to build and our share for the 11% for it. And we go ahead and build it, yes.
Okay, so the answer to the question I believe the commission is asking is, if they recommend approval and the city council agrees with them, prior to you getting a certificate of occupancy, you will have in place a fire apparatus access road that provides access along and on the Brookshire's Grocery Company access easement.
Yes.
For the length of your property.
Yes.
Would that be at occupancy or would it be at construction?
If it was me, I would recommend prior to occupancy, prior to the issuance of the CO. That would allow them to do all their construction and actually use the drive, that surface as a driveway that they're not going to tear up with all their equipment, and then finalize the fire apparatus access road.
I mean, I'm just, and my concern here, get right to it, is the site plans we're dealing with imply that state that the drive lane to be constructed by others, the surface we're talking about, and that clearly is not going to be on it's beyond the property line. So it is a question of, I mean, even with the easement, how that's going to be created, because to me, I can't approve the plat unless I have that answer, because the plat requires then understanding of all of the things that are in the plat, right, which includes the surface, and specifically that, C15, C1 area up C14, which is presume that's a access area that allows access to the south for that parking area. Yeah, the circular area is a parking area. Access off 205 has some presumed access, it looks like, different from the site plan that would be on the 550. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
I'm not sure. I don't have your.
You don't have the plat. This.
Well, I do, but.
Oh, this. I'm sorry. This is the thing you gave me, which is. Yeah. Okay. Can you hand
not what
us?
you're considering.
It's.
So are we?
That's not right. Well, that's That's from the submission you guys did. I mean, that's where this came from, right? Which is the site plan.
Do you mind if I?
Yeah,
come
sure.
up?
I want to make sure we get this right. And this is, so in our packet was provided this site plan, which is almost impossible to read, which is I'm sorry, not that, this site plan. It's also almost impossible to read, which is the one that went to city council. This is the one that has the specific drive-through, right? So I asked in the packet, we were told this site plan was available for inspection. So when I asked, the city secretary gave me out of the full packet, right? I'm sorry, is this document, which I guess gets closest to it.
Yes, sir. That's the without the.
Right, exactly. That's what I assumed. And that's why what I was reading is this is the lane we're talking about.
Right. So I think.
Because then I correlate that to the plat, right? I mean, that's what I'm looking at. Although
Yeah.
the difference is you have this.
That is correct.
I presume this is an access to 550, implied access here. This right here where it's.
No, so this part right here, so that's the variable with drainage and detention easement.
Okay.
So we'll have a detention structure underground that will. release-
Oh, okay, I see,
That's-
I
that's
see.
that.
Oh, okay, now I understand it, thank
That's
you.
the access.
That helps me, all right.
Okay.
But this is still, I just want to make sure, because this is my concern. My concern is how this is, if I approve this, I'm approving this stretch that is contingent. This is only useful if this easement works. If this is turned into a lane.
Right. So
Right.
in our connection to that.
Yeah, please do it so we can record.
Yeah, do you understand what I apologize to the audience. I just want to make sure we try to get this right.
Right. So what we were talking about was the access piece that connects 550 to I guess, the southeastern corner of our property. So the note there on the updated site plan references to the access drive by others, which is it's connected to the agreement that Mr. Polani and Brookshire's and the rest of the development have to, I guess, split that percentage, and he would contribute to the cost of that pavement. But I guess what I understood was that the access piece would be constructed by others, and that would be a part of the commitment to build that fire lane access to the edge of their drive as part of the construction.
So Mr. Polani, that's correct representation. Okay. All right.
Is
so-
there any documentation that we can look at, that agreement?
See, the agreement, we were here last year, December 15th of last year, 2022. Berkshire City staff, mayor, we all were there at the office, and everybody agreed for the pinch it in for whatever the cost for the paving and for 30 feet easements. And our share is 11%, and the rest of the other landowner paying their own shares.
And that was based on the total square footage of the area that was going to be served by this access easement. I was at that meeting, so.
Who's doing the other 89%?
You know, there Brookshire's, Rob Whittle owns a bunch of it. I mean, there are 2 or 3 other property owners that have thrown in with this. I must say that we're way beyond the bounds of consideration for the plat.
I disagree.
I'm just your staff, so.
No, I understand, and I don't say that lightly. I understand but part of the plat is to, I mean, if we're just approving the meets and bounds, then we're not then there wouldn't be a discussion, but the plat includes drainage, right? So that's a consideration here. And drainage is going to be driven by surface, concrete, and that includes fire access, which is identified on the plat. That's on there. I didn't put it on there. And so I don't believe we're actually beyond the bounds. I just want to make sure we're clean to make any recommendation to the city council that all aspects of the plat have been examined and there's no, hidden land hand grenades here that are going to come back to cause concerns. I mean, we're all want appropriate development in McLendon-Chisholm, but I just want to make sure we're not speeding and creating a future problem. It's my opinion. I'll allow the other members of the commission to disagree with my philosophy on that. So if we're approving the plat, I just want to make sure I'm clean on this. If we're approving the plat, we're approving all aspects of the things that are on the plat itself, correct?
Yes.
And that would include this access to the south from, it's going to come down, which is providing vehicle access that would include emergency services, of course. And I appreciate the clarification on this other part, right, which is the drainage from that what's going to be a large concrete area. The buildings will sit on the other area to the south of that. From this, it implies that drive-through lane now has been eliminated. Is that correct?
That's right, yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been eliminated, so that's
Thank
thank you. That's good. And then, so the only question then is to make sure that by approving that plat, that it is it presumably is contingent on that turning into a surface road to the south, immediately to the south. So if that wasn't going to happen, the fact of an easement is a first step. It's important, but it's not conclusive in my mind. Sir.
I have a potential solution.
Okay.
I think the original motion was for approval, and you got a second.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if you were to amend the motion to say approval subject to the following condition, then that condition would be that the fire apparatus access road, as shown on the final plat as the access to Brookshire Grocery Company, is installed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the uses that are contained on this plat. That would be Lot 1, Block 1, SH 205/550 edition.
Okay.
I think that would get you there,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
I'm willing to, I think we had, now, thank you. Now, do you want to make a modification?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we amend our prior vote to include a set of two restrictions, one being that they provide the fire line access prior to their certificate of occupancy, and they resubmit their application with the verbiage of the drive-through portion of the restaurant building being stricken from the applicant.
Do you agree with that, since it was your original motion?
I agree with it. I agree with it.
Okay. All right. Now, are we ready?
Yes.
Do you, any objections to that? Okay.
Do you want to?
Second. Yes.
Yeah.
Second the amendment.
All right. So we good? We're ready? We're at the point of liftoff? Yeah. I'll ask for the call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That is approved unanimously. Again, I apologize to the members of the public, especially to those that may be listening online. Sometimes we deal with these complexities of platting, and it's not easy to always see those lines, and hopefully we'll get better at that in the future.
Mr. Chair, I want to
Sir.
remind the commission that this will be going to the city council for consideration on the 12th of December.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to move on to item 4.2, consideration and action to recommend to the mayor and city council to hold a joint work session with city council, planning and zoning, board of adjustments in January to discuss the comprehensive plan and related issues, to discuss desired growth characteristics and outcomes, and to identify necessary future actions. For the members of the commission, that was I put that on there because I think based on the last couple of meetings we've had, we're at a pivot point in our city as we move forward. And I want to make sure, I want to have a clear sensing that everybody's on the same sheet of music in terms of development and compliance with the comprehensive plan, what that entails, and then how to move forward. So all I was asking was on this one is we can do it either by vote if you feel necessary, or just get a consensus of the commission that they agree with the idea of having a joint planning, a work session, sorry, joint work session, which would be an open meeting. It would involve all members of this commission as well as Board of Adjustment and, of course, City Council and the mayor. And it'd be no specific action would be taken in that work session, but we'd identify all the things for future consideration. Okay, that was my pitch. Anyone has any comments about that?
I agree with you that this is a valuable tool. We had one of these last year, and it was very informative. We got some input from council. I think it was very helpful, and I would encourage us to do that again.
Any other comments specifically, Mr. Freeze?
I guess would this be a meeting that would be open to the public? Or
Yes, of course.
Okay. And the second thing, I think it's a great idea, all being on the same page together, but also to help further the spirit of what the public was telling us when they last pushed the comprehensive plan. So I'm glad to see it would be the public.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll probably find ways to get in trouble. I'll leave that to the members, and so I appreciate that. And then I'll just make that report back to the mayor, who controls the agenda items. That we would prefer to have that sooner rather than later. In January is, I think, an important time as we get started.
And Mr. Chair, I absolutely agree with that. I think this is a great idea.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, and then with that, I'll close 4.2, move on to item 5. Any commissioner reports or announcements that want to be made? I have one. Actually, just want to highlight, we're having a community celebration for the holidays, be held here at City Hall on the 1st of December. At 5:30, it's going to be the Christmas tree lighting. It's on Friday and open to the public. I would certainly encourage every member of the commission to be there. It's a great opportunity to, meet folks from the community and have an opportunity to socialize and not have to worry about talking business. And I think they'll traditionally have hot cider and some other hot chocolate. I'm hoping. There we go. It's important stuff.
What time was that, Mr. Chairman?
And bring your kids. It's at 5:30.
5:30, thank you.
And so I have a little piece of paper here because the other request was from the organizers that include my bride, who was asking for donations of cookies that can be shared. I'll just pass these out as a little reminder. And I think the instructions are to bring them and drop them off here at City Hall. on the 1st. So, and I know it's in the past, if you haven't attended one of these, it's actually a lot of fun. Enjoyable time. And, yeah, bring the kids. Santa's always great when they do it. He's the center of attention and rolls up on the fire truck if they're still going to do that this year. I'm sure they will. I know that Chief loves that stuff. Okay, that's all I had. I'll just go around the room. Any other comments, announcements? Tom, anything? Anything? No, sir? Mr. Freeze? Nothing? Mr. Rohde? Staff, anything? No? Yes, ma'am. Perfect. So I think appreciate all the work that, Mike, that you've done with the city, but I think we're growing to the point where it's good to have somebody on staff who's fully accessible and accountable to citizens. Not that you're not accountable. I don't want to apply that. But you do have a lot of things you juggle, so this gives us an opportunity. But we appreciate all the service you've done for the city. Oh, yeah. So, okay, very good. And then our next meeting will be 19th of December. We'll be right here with Santa Claus, and I'll encourage members of the commission to wear their ugly Christmas sweaters to that meeting. We'll try to put a little fun into our series. So, anybody that's not going to be able to be here on the 19th? Okay, well deserved. Okay. Okay, yes, sir. You good? So it sounds like we'll have, if you're good, we'll have 4. We'll have a quorum. Okay? So you'll get a reminder from our more than capable city secretary. It will remind us. Yeah, that's all right. We can. And then I think the other thing is you left everybody a little pamphlet. Do you want to talk about this? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. We're adjourning at 19:27. Is that, did I get the time right? All right.
I do agree with the drawing.